Hello and welcome to the first in a new series of World Highways Roundtable discussions. In this edition, we'll be talking about how the digital revolution is transforming life on site for the better. To do this, we brought together a select group of experts in different locations to discuss the latest thinking in machine control technology. What do all of these new ideas and new ways of working mean for the future of our industry? World Highways editor Mike Woof is asking the questions, and our panel of key opinion leaders providing the answers is Magnus Thibblin, president of the Machine Control Group at Hexagon, the parent group for Leica Geosystems, Jamie Williamson, executive vice president for the positioning business unit at Topcon, and Scott Crozier, vice president and general manager of Trimble's civil construction field systems business. So, let's hear what they had to say.
The construction sector has a poor record on productivity and is noted for its conservative approach to new technologies. So, how best can technology companies approach these issues?
We think a lot about workflows to make sure that it's easy for the customer to understand what the purpose is and what the end goal is. The more important ones would be to make it easy to adopt, to make sure that you think about the customer's ecosystem. I know we all have ecosystems, which we need to have as well, but we also need to think about the customer side of things. We need to make sure it's compatible and as agnostic as possible. Again, that's coming into a bit of more openness. And then I think support the customer to actually adopt this as fast as possible. And that could be with training, remote trainings. And I think all of us, I assume, have worked hard to make sure we can do this remotely, and then make sure that we can support them during this integration process.
I would echo the things that Magnus said, and really from our perspective it's also a multi-pronged approach, because we've got our private sector customers and contractors that are utilizing the technology today, and probably one of the biggest challenges is just educating the market. And not only the private sector contractors, because I think all of us in the roundtable would agree, once a customer adopts the technology, they never go back. One of the big challenges is educating the government agencies, ministries of transport, DOTs, the people that are writing the specifications and creating the bids. We kind of feel like education is a big part of it. We also, and I'm sure the other guys are doing this as well, have a very active program with universities and educational institutions to help move equipment and move this technology into the educational experience. So we're helping to train that new workforce that's coming out of university and getting into the business. Add that one of the other barriers to adoption in the past has probably been just the level of capital intensiveness to buy, and particularly machine control systems. It was really just kind of the top tier, the top of the pyramid of the market that was adopting. And we see, as Magnus said, simplification in the UI and the UX, ease of use, and then also making these solutions more cost effective so that we can really get down to broad scale mass adoption with owner operators.
I mean, phenomenal to see that we're all thinking along the same lines here. We know what needs to be done in the industry. It takes time and it takes a lot of people, and I think working together, I mean, both Magnus and Jamie touched on it, the education of the bodies that set some of the specifications and standards really is critical that we all work together on this. I think also the openness of the data flows, the workflows, the interoperability of the solutions is actually critical. There is a scenario at the moment where if you have multiple different types of technologies, it can be making life pretty difficult for the users of the solutions. Bringing everything together and seeing more integration between the technology players within the industry is really coming to the forefront at the moment. Getting technologies into schools, into operating engineers societies, and we're seeing a number of training facilities being set up either directly within the construction companies or plant hire companies, and I know that we're all doing our best to support those opportunities to train the current generation and next generation workforce that's coming through at the moment. And then I guess from a product perspective, something that we can do, and Jamie hit on this one as well, is making the technology just simpler or really more intuitive to use. When you're using digital solutions, it's a change in process from what you're doing today to what you need to be doing with the digital solutions. So making sure that change in process is as intuitive as possible, just to reduce the downtime and the frustration levels that go through when you're adopting any new process, I think are key to success of bringing technologies into the industry.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought a need for social distancing to ensure health on site. So to what extent has the adoption of the digital working enabled projects to be worked safely through the pandemic?
I think we were pretty fortunate and blessed to be in the construction industry, because when the pandemic hit, really with us being essential industries, it really had very positive impact on people's lives relative to what it could have been. Just as a nature of the business, the fact that the construction work, much of it is done outdoors, particularly for site preparation, road building, that type of work, lent itself very easily to safe kind of working conditions with respect to the pandemic. And I also think even for kind of the indoor building construction, it's very, very few tasks or workflows where it requires tight grouping of humans for long periods of time that would potentially expose each other. And then, of course, the existing adoption and then the increased adoption of the digital job site management, whether it be applications that are contained on the phone, on a tablet, on the desktop, in the cloud. It enabled really a lot of remote communication for the project managers and all the different stakeholders on the job. The global society accelerated leaps and bounds with the comfort and the utilization of technology.
The COVID-19 pandemic, I know, accelerated the transition within our industries of engineering and manufacturing to be more remote. Well, it also drove it into the construction industry as well, and everyone raced to look for tools to support that kind of remote operation. It started to accelerate the inevitable. We've seen a big increase in the opportunity to use as-built data for remote inspection. Things like drones were becoming regular tools on site to capture as much data as possible, and people being interested in looking for those kind of tools, right? Something that stood out for me actually started at ConExpo in 2020, just as the pandemic was hitting, was this interest in autonomous solutions, remote operation. And I would say COVID has driven that interest and almost a demand for solutions to be made available sooner. So we've seen a lot of increased investment in autonomous and RC, remote control technologies in the construction industry.
I think we all know that this business has been quite conservative, and I can say that it is speeding up very fast. When we rushed home from ConExpo, I was very concerned at that time, how will we handle this situation? And we have pushed a lot and tried to get adoption in faster. And that is actually then increased very fast.
What benefits can machine control technology deliver for an industry in which there is a shortage of labour, an ageing workforce, and of less highly skilled and experienced operators? Scott, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So it's a couple of these are very obvious, and I think a lot of us are going to know, but I'll touch on them, and then I'm sure Jamie and Magnus can fill in some other elements as well, right? But first of all, we all know that machine control really helps new or less skilled operators get productive quickly, right? And there's a number of cases that I'm sure we could all throw off the top of our head, right? But just two I wanted to touch on was one company in California just struggling to get operators, and he started to hire high school leavers and bring them on board. The technology attracted them to his construction company, but the technology also enabled them to be productive really from the early stages. A little bit of training from him, and he had them being fully functional within his residential construction company. Another one, a large contractor this time out on the east coast of the US here, was really struggling to find some operators, had a number of large projects going on at the moment, so the labour shortage is real, and just getting access to capable or qualified operators was tough. And so he recently hired a couple of people that he thought had potential. 2 weeks ago they were making sandwiches at Subway. 2 weeks now they're operating machines. Right now, it's not just the technology that enables them to operate the machine, it's got to come with coaching and training as well. I would also say that machine control technology is constantly increasing. I would say it's accelerating in the capabilities. The one area where we need to improve upon, I guess, is the level of intelligence that comes from an experienced operator, and provide that into the machine as well. So I would say what we're seeing and some of the data collection solutions that are coming through now through being connected, or a foreman can actually, or supervisor can actually understand the performance levels of one operator against another operator and use that information to help educate, train operators to be at the level of a skilled operator. And for skilled operators, there will be other operators around there that are doing things differently, and provide that information to them so they can become even more efficient and optimized. So I think the COVID drove the remote operation and the data collection. Now what we're seeing is the data collection side is being used to help improve the performance of current operators. We've seen that machine control technology it improves the lifestyle for operators. It reduces cognitive load, and so when they go home from work at night, they're not completely wiped out from concentrating and focusing all day. I mean, keeping a machine degrade is a pretty tasking job, and so with machine control, it just takes away one of those elements. And we had one operator note within 2 weeks of using the excavator automated assistance solutions, he would come home from work and he'd have energy to get outside and play. This is an operator from Australia, play backyard cricket or take the kids swimming after dinner. So, a good change in lifestyle there for that operator, brought about by machine control technology.
Yes, I think attract younger newcomers is interesting. I think we all are touching it somehow. I mean, we need to get these people in. And I think we all know that digital is their world. I mean, they are used to iPhones and everything else, even though we played, video games when we were young, but still that was, simple video games. So the digital reality or the digital part is what they're used to. So when we look at machine control, I think we are helping them to get into this job as well. It becomes more interesting. And I think also we all know that if you have machine control, you're helping a good operator to be maybe excellent. It could be rototilt or whatever kind of solution you use to be able to work on a very complex design. But it's also helping the new ones to be good.
Would agree with what the guys had to say there, and maybe add a couple extra little things. With respect to the benefits of the technology, shortage of skilled labor, shortage of labor period, becomes an issue for the contractors themselves in being able to actually execute jobs. I know a local contractor here is a buddy of mine. He can't take on any more work. There's work available, but he is maxed out. He can't find additional labor, and so his business is constrained due to that fact. Well, as we all know, by utilizing the technology, it's not unheard of at all to double productivity for certain tasks. Another one of our challenges and opportunities is to educate the younger workforce to the fact that, hey, there is serious high technology in our industry, in construction, and you can go and have a career and do exciting things, whether you're on the engineering side, the application side, the support side, etc. Doesn't matter. It's a fantastic career, multi-trillion-dollar industry, and so there's plenty of opportunity if we can just find unique and new ways to get the word out to educate the potential workforce there. The technology will absolutely bring operators up the ladder, and I would also echo Scott's comment that from an improvement of quality of life for the employee is a fantastic benefit. By utilizing the technology where everyone's connected, the machine can basically get to grade on its own, the quality of the job is at least equal to or better than utilizing conventional methods. And at the end of the day, if those customers are providing a better quality product in faster time, it means getting more work, because their company's reputation and their ability to deliver the promises they make when they're negotiating their work becomes an improved entity for the long-term future of that enterprise. I think we can do a much better job of educating the industry and the world about the impact our technologies have on sustainability. When you look at the benefits of utilizing machine control or any of these workflow solutions that our companies are producing, it means less fuel burned, less maintenance on equipment, just the whole efficiency of utilizing the technology versus conventional methods creates a massive win from a carbon footprint standpoint.
What is the impact on the ability to work efficiently or cost effectively from introducing machine control technology? And this one I'll go to Magnus.
Okay, thank you. There's so many, but I will home in on a few. So, I mean, machine operators can work more efficiently, better access to information, which could be the same design or the right design, for instance. Site safety is also increased because people need to spend less time near machines. Environmental targets, and then reporting is simple as well. What we're looking at is going from machine control to site control solutions, which is maybe the more important thing that you see today. We are connecting things, which means we're not just having a machine control solution separated from the survey solutions or from the scanning solutions or whatever. So the workflows, we are connecting everything into one data capture, you can say. And we have also this in our cloud solution, and I'm quite sure that everyone is looking at how can you get data in to make, I wouldn't say a complete sort of backbone, you can call it, or ecosystem for that, which is connecting office, field, cloud. One thing is clear, we have to make sure that we do the right data, we utilize the right data for the right people on site. And this is something that also I believe is getting better and better, because the operator in the machine is only one part of this whole ecosystem. We have to think about the site foreman, we have to think about the site manager, and then we have several dozen more of these personas that we have to make sure they are on top of what the machines are doing, and then where the project is more or less in timelines or profitability or productivity.
As we can continue to get higher and higher adoption, the more individuals or companies on a particular job site, or the larger percentage of a fleet that can be equipped with the technology, will provide pretty much a linear relationship to the benefits that are being deployed on that job. Today, or historically, I would say, you might have a customer with, say, a fleet of 10 machines, whether it be some combination of excavators, bulldozers, etc. And they may only have control systems on 2 of those machines, and maybe be thinking, well, I don't want to spend the extra money to outfit 5 or 6 of my 10 machines. I'm going to do just these 2, and I'm going to utilize them for finish grade, because finish grade is where the bulk of the money is made for the customer. Because as Magnus said, the data is being collected now on the machines and on the job, and that data can be turned into information once you get a fleet and you get more and more participation from the fleet. And then of course that has implications for the customer to really understand in real time, whether it be asset utilization and needing to know, oh, I'm behind schedule, I need to get an extra machine out here for 2 weeks to get caught up, because there may be a bottleneck in the overall schedule, or I'm ahead of schedule and I can take this machine, instead of having it parked out here sitting doing nothing for a week, I can get the flatbed over, move it to a second job site where I may be behind or I want to get ahead, and be able to utilize those assets to the maximum amount possible.
The 5 key benefits we see are better, so high quality, faster, safer, greener, and more efficient now as well, right? So there's no doubt about the improvement that the technologies have on the efficiency and sustainability. And as Jamie mentioned, the asset utilization, right, or machine utilization. And then there's tools that can be made or used to optimize that machine utilization so that you further improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the assets, and therefore improve the sustainability. There's a number of areas where the technology is actually contributing to better output at the moment. We talk about safety. Safety is becoming a bigger and bigger thing. It's always been important. The construction industry is probably, I would say, leading the world when it comes to a safety culture. There's no doubt about it that the machine control technology enables safety on site. And I think what we're going to see is increased safety elements built into the machine control technologies as well. Personnel detection and machine detection, collision detection, avoidance zones for utilities and pipes and that kind of stuff.
How does the latest technology allow an entire fleet and workforce to be connected in real time to a 3D virtual realization of the entire project? And what benefits does this deliver? That goes to Jamie.
The connectivity is here today. I think in generally all the systems that are being put into the marketplace today, the customer at least has the option to get connected to the cloud. Certainly, probably the most common benefits and most common usage of it is data transfer. That data transfer back and forth is a key element and works very effectively. And then the other thing I think was also mentioned is the remote support. So having the ability for a service technician, whatever, could be halfway around the world, in real time can connect and communicate with that operator in the seat of his machine or at an office location anywhere in the world in real time, provides just an unbelievable element of support from a cost effectiveness and probably more importantly from a time perspective, because as we all know, uptime and production is the lifeblood of our customers. So I mean, even in the old days it would be the same thing. Statistically, we have probably 85+% of our support requirements are non-hardware related. It's either application training that someone doesn't necessarily understand how to do the application, or they got into a into a setting in one of the control boxes of the machine and changed something up, or there may be an intermittent failure, something happening, but about 85+% of the issues that come in are resolved over the phone or remotely over a computer. So it's just been a transformational change from that side of the business. If a customer gets connectivity, he'll never go without it again, because I guarantee you, every single person or company that has the technology at some point has utilized that support mechanism, and it's a game changer. Today, it's just a price of admission. If you have an application or a tool that the customer is going to use to execute a workflow, you can use the platform of your choice, whether it's your phone, your tablet, your desktop. It's really become very, very easy as far as accessibility. Then it just becomes an issue of, can you get your personnel to engage and really utilize the tools? The additional applications, the additional benefits that can be derived from the tools and the workflows can continually increase. And we'll see that with experienced operators. They think of things, once they understand what the tool can do, they think of ways to use it that we may have never even thought of ourselves, because they're in the dirt, they're in the job, on the job, figuring out what they need to accomplish and know much better, I hate to say it, than us about really how they can get their work done. And so if we can get the training, you get the customer comfortable with the technology, it's kind of boundless of how they can utilize it for their individual needs.
For me, I guess this is probably the most exciting area. The next opportunity the industry has is around the connectivity, the real-time data collection and flow from field to office, and the 3D virtual realization of the entire project or the model. Probably in the last few years, the richness and resolution and capability of the models, the to-be built and the as-built models increased significantly. Simulation tools, of virtual construction tools that can be used to understand problems that might occur during the construct phase before they actually happen, are starting to bring real value. These are emerging technologies, I guess, in the industry, but comparing what was planned to be built and how it was planned to be built with what's actually being built, and then therefore, as it's been touched on already, being able to bring different resources in to either bring it back on track or to change plans or designs to even further improve the design plans. There's no doubt about that, the quality tracking as well, right? So making sure things are built right. I think we're seeing this starting to be adopted or driven by Department of Transport's or DOTs, different legal bodies, and even owners starting to require that their projects are built and delivered to a level of quality that's expected. So the collection of the as-building information is required from a quality perspective, but also from an operational and maintenance perspective later on as well, so people understand how things were built. The augmented reality technologies that are coming into play now really help with the simulation, not only in the office, but augmented reality is coming out into the field to give that 3D virtual representation directly in the field so that people can, I guess, grasp what the project is going to look like before it's been built. I think the skill of reading two-dimensional plans and in your mind being able to represent them 3D in the space and where you're standing on a site is almost a dying art. We see the ability to grasp 3D space from 3D images or a 3D virtual environment really now is kind of taking over.
I think what everything comes down to is have a chance to be on the same page. So when you have the normal things on construction sites, you can have everything that happens from being on the wrong design model. It could be that one crew has the wrong data and so on, right? So what this collaboration tool and the cloud tools will give you is a chance, if you use it, to actually be on the same page, which means that you have a verification that you use the same data. You can make sure that whatever tools you're using on site, if it's a machine, if it's a survey tool, a scanner, whatever it is, you can say that the 3D model or whatever you call this gets everything into one place. And you shouldn't have to worry about rework or other things that could normally happen because everyone is sort of in a disconnect between each other. This is an exciting part because we can help the customers to actually adopt something and which is quite simple. It's a cloud tool that gives them this power and freedom to actually control their machines and their staff and their people on site to be on the same page, to have the right data. This is helping them to make decisions. So all of these things are streaming into one thing, but I just want to finalize by saying it's not just cloud as we know it. You also have to think about sometimes you are disconnected. So that means that you don't have a cloud to connect to. Then you need to still have a site cloud, you can call it, or site premise, to make sure that you can do these things as well if you don't have 5G or whatever kind of connectivity to stream data. Because again, the data consumption is increasing. We just need to know what to do with the data and how big are the packages to make sure it's not too much data floating around. That's also a few parts in addition.
Where will the construction industry go next for digital transformation? And we'll start with Scott for this one.
We've already been through a transformation from where we were using stakes and string lines to the what I would call the digital transformation, where we put a digital model in machines and we gave guidance to that. The next transformation, in my view, is much larger. It's moving to a complete solution where we focus on optimizing and automating processes, not just the task. In the machine control area, we focused on just the task of grade control. And the industry's been transitioning in this direction for some time now, right? But really getting to a point where we can truly optimize and automate processes and machines. And this transformation is enabled through, all the big buzzwords we've been talking about for some time: big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, simulation. All of those items will be the root, I guess, of this next transformation. We have to bring all the data sources together. We can't have the level of fragmentation that exists. So this really requires either an industry standard to be driven by technology players, contractors in the industry, to truly have a standardized interoperability format or solution to deliver a true industry platform. Once you've got that, then you can start to have things like design packages being optimized, up front for how construction could or would be done at the time of constructing. At the moment, it's very serial, and lessons learned often don't get applied to future design or future projects. So with this industry platform, we have the ability to truly optimize designs up front and deliver all the improvements and efficiencies, but a far greater scale than what we can do today with the little, with the task assistance solutions that exist with machine control and really focused on the earth moving. We can get the benefits across the entire project, every phase of that project, through bringing an industry platform together.
I think what we're looking at is sort of a road to autonomy, which is different steps. This is not something that will go very fast. It will be steps that are happening, maybe sort of fast, but some of them will take some time. And I think we all know that we're doing machine guidance and control today. That's something that we all do. But then we also are building in safety aspects into this, which we call person alert and collision avoidance could be one part in this journey. Then I think we're also looking into semi-automatic solutions as well, depending on the machine, right? Because some machines we have already done semi-auto and auto on for quite a while, but let's take the excavator as an example. Then after that you have to think, how do you go and protect the vehicles around? Then you need to have vehicle intervention as well, part of that journey. And then this has been mentioned as well previously today. You need to think about remote control, because in this journey you need to have like puzzle pieces along the way to make sure that you can actually get to the full autonomy. But without that, you can't get anywhere if you cannot understand how to remote control the units as well. And of course, where you can do it. Then you have to have other sensors on the machine that can bring these things together, as also mentioned, I think, by Scott, to fuse this together. And then you come into automated work cycles, and in the end, of course, you have several steps here. You can say it's 9 steps, perhaps, if I just simplify it from my thinking at least. And then you will get to that. How fast this will go is also something I don't think we know, but I think we as an industry are responsible to also look at this and drive this together. But we also need to work with OEMs around this, because we are not the only ones in this. We are but we are a technology provider and a technology expert, all of us, I would say, on this call. But we need to work together with the rest in the industry to get to this future that I think we all are thinking about.
I think certainly that the end game and the where we're going, we will arrive where we all see it going. I think some of the interim steps, as we talked about to start our session, the adoption of technology in our industry historically has been a little bit slow to to be kind, and so I think there are several interim steps that will continue to evolve to get to that final arrival at whether it be full autonomy or complete workflow and process connectivity and control. One of the buzzwords at the moment is the digital twins, and really documenting and defining what actually got built compared to what the initial design was. I mean, if any of you guys out there, even building a single family house, you get the plans of what the residence is supposed to be, and after the first 2 weeks of construction, change orders appear and things change and happen. And so one of the exciting things that we all see as an industry is with the data collection tools, both from a hardware and software perspective, being able to document what actually is happening on the job site and keeping a record of that as the project progresses become more and more a massive benefit to not only to the contractor during the construction phase, but to the owner of the asset after the asset is completed. Documentation from a QA perspective, from a maintenance perspective, being able to deliver a digital twin or an owner's manual for that asset to the owner to operate that asset over its life will become more and more a bigger and bigger benefit and will become more common across all of our industry. It's possible today for a concrete contractor who is doing a floor in a high-rise building, that while the concrete is still wet, that customer can scan the surface of that floor and while the concrete trucks are still there and the finishing crew is still there, determine whether that floor is within specification in real time. If it's not within specification, they can do the modification and fix the problem right then and there, not have to wait 3 months later when the next subcontractor comes in and realizes, oh, this anchor bolt was in the wrong position, or the floor flatness is not going to be effective for us mounting our, 3-story tall warehouse shelving, whatever that is. So having real-time data collection, scanning ability, and clash detection tools, all that type of digital representation of the design becomes more and more valuable as time goes on, and more easy to use. And then lastly, I would say, is having easier and easier exchange of information from the job site. There are hundreds and hundreds of companies out there with different tools, different platforms, and so there are many tools out there. And one of the big challenges is, how do we bring all of the outputs of those different tools into one umbrella that can basically communicate across platforms to enable basically one ecosystem for the customer. Like in our personal lives, the connectivity and the ease of use of all these tools becomes the real driver in the adoption and the usability of the technologies. We're not in this alone. The OEMs, particularly the Tier 1 OEMs, are having a significant impact on a couple fronts. Number one, the fact that they now have offerings for grade control coming from the factory has certainly helped enable the adoption, just because of the messaging and the touches to the marketplace. And I would say they also are looking for help or enhancement of the ability for the positioning technologies to speak across platforms. Most customers have mixed fleets, so the easier we can make it to have a seamless workflow, so that whatever that customer's heavy equipment choice is, he can easily pull up to the job site, turn on his machine, and go to work in whatever environment that particular customer wants to work in. So we're working as a group. It's a slow process, trying to get the ISO people or whoever, and even getting our companies to work together. We've had challenges in the past, but I think we've moved past that to a very large degree, and so that cooperation is happening, and it never happens fast enough, but that will help.
Yeah, maybe just building on that, I'm wondering if you were going to get to this point as well. Is like, hey, it's at the moment with the OEMs and the ISO standard being created for data transfer and interoperability of mixed fleet machines and mixed fleet technology. I would say as we progress with the transformation to more and more automation, then we're going to need open platforms from the OEMs as well, so that a contractor's preference of autonomous technologies can apply across a mixed fleet of machines as well, right? So I think that's the extension of what we're building on at the moment with the ISO standard. It's a journey, as Magnus mentioned, and Magnus, we say that internally all the time, so please you see it as well. There's a lot of people that just think you're going to turn up with an autonomous machine and or autonomous construction site. That's just not going to happen. We're a long way away from it. So it's increasing the levels of automation and assistance, safety, and then therefore efficiencies before we get to that autonomous machine. But a key part of it is the interaction between the technology providers and the machine providers.
All of us are in the same group, so I think this is where we are. This is where the excitement, for me also, coming from the industry from the beginning, I'm so happy that this is happening, because we need to work for customer ease, right? That has to be our focus, and I think everyone thinks the same, but that is our aim, to make them not struggle with different data formats. My God, right? We should be further. So ISO will help, and I'm happy that all of us are in it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I found that really interesting, especially with such a wide range of topics covered by the roundtable. It's going to be fascinating to watch these new technologies bring major benefits in quality and productivity to contractors working on site, and hear more about the way even skilled operators can benefit from the performance management capability of these new digital solutions. It's amazing to think about how smartphones and tablets are already providing greater access and higher levels of control, and how improved compatibility will help mixed fleets work together much more successfully in the future. Incredible as well to hear from Scott about someone who was making sandwiches at Subway 2 weeks ago, now operating complex pieces of construction equipment. The future is evolving even faster than before the pandemic, and there's no looking back. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see more of our videos, please go to www.worldhighways.com/videos.